Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
Empishi by'obufuzi.
It's controversial,
Purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Bya state house oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani gwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleesa amaanyi.
Olwofadda bafutoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwojema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF baamala tebabanja. Olwo baba ate bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simayanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamba mpanyiga mawu.
Ebe ndabena birindira no ku the Political Dice ku the Alternative Dig Talk nange Teddy Tenjo ewamune
Farida Bikobere
buli wa Sunday
sawa 2.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machinde, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m., Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besigye every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can. Although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strength.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very good evening and a warm welcome to this edition of the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karahanga, 10 minutes past 7 p.m. Thank you so much from wherever you're tuning in from. People who watch us from the diaspora, it's always a privilege and pleasure to have you right here on the Hotline Show. A lot of things are happening in the country, but before I even delve into those particular stories, allow me also just send a vote of thanks for the people who watch us from here. You put in a lot of investment, a lot of data to actually watch a 2-hour show, so it's always really, really humbling that you continue to watch these clips and you continue to share them on various social media platforms. I told you we are at the Alternative Uganda. That is on Facebook, at Digitalk TV, still on Facebook, where we stream live from. Later on after this particular episode, we shall be able to just upload it on YouTube, where you can actually see and watch it without any buffering, without any need for VPN and things like that. Because as we speak up to today, Facebook is not working really in the country, or it has been locked down by the president. And of course, a lot of information that was there, and a lot of claims were made how a lot of malicious information is shared on Facebook. Even up to date, it's still closed. But nonetheless, we are here, and we committed to giving you factual information to help you make informed decisions at the end of the day. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Today the President signed the appropriation bill that he had refused to assent to a couple of weeks ago, saying that some money had been, misappropriated, and some people at the budget committee were not really, people you can trust. So he had to send back that particular bill to Parliament, which had to reallocate some of the resources. Over 750 billion was reallocated. So the President assented to that particular bill. So that means the financial year officially has started to go on. And of course, land evictions in wetland areas, especially areas around Lubiji in Wakiso districts, continue. Many people have been affected by this particular crisis that is continuing to happen in the country. Some of them actually have come out with court orders that are, telling government and the people who are, evicting these individuals to stop whatever they are doing, but the evictions are not ceasing. And also the question of equity in terms of these particular campaigns. Why is it that some people are evicted from those particular wetlands, but some others have been left to stand? So what is the criteria and the eligibility when it comes to saying that we're going to evict these individuals and these individuals will actually stay? Still in Uganda, former RCC for Rubaga, that is Anderson Burorwa, has been remanded to Luzira prison. That is until 9th. 9th will be tomorrow. So he's going to be coming back. He's facing charges of computer misuse. This comes at a time when this gentleman has been candid about talking about corruption, especially in the office of the Speaker of Parliament. So the question is, are we serious in fighting corruption as a problem in the country? Because if some whistleblowers are coming out to talk about people who are corrupt, and some of us are actually defending or arresting the people who are trying to advocate for, the stoppage of corruption in the country, what does this actually mean? And that is going to be a benchmark for the conversation that we're going to be having tonight, which is the role of the public in creating awareness and fighting corruption in the country. What is your role as a person who's watching me, as a voter, as a taxpayer? Do you even have the moral authority to fight corruption? Because sometimes we are corrupt as a people. I was recently talking to an individual who was supporting her child to give out sweets as she wanted to vie for a prefectship in the country. That is actually really corruption. If a child needs to give other children sweets in order for them to vote them, and we entrenching a system of corruption right from down in families, in schools, how can we actually deal with this particular vice? So what is your role, and what is the role of the leaders? We shall be looking at the general scheme of fighting corruption in the country. Then maybe lastly, and definitely not least, there is a tentative plan for people to march to Parliament. I think the proposed date is 23rd of July 2024. Many people are sharing messages of marching to Parliament, and this comes at a time when Kenya has been protesting. And Ugandans have actually seen what has happened in Kenya, the changes that the protests have actually brought about. But how feasible is a march to Parliament here in Uganda? The last time there was a bit of protest or demonstrations, around 54 Ugandans lost their lives. At least that is what government, even if Mulago Hospital says the otherwise. But let's continue with what government said. Over 54 Ugandans were murdered in cold blood. Up to today, nobody has been booked for these particular, murders or deaths of people. So what does this actually mean in the grand scheme of things? And tonight I've been joined by two gentlemen. One is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. He's a usual suspect here, Mr. Charles Kazova. And of course, the gentleman from Uganda People's Congress, UPC, that is Honorable Joseph Ochieno. He's already also here in studios, and we're going to be benching on those particular issues to have our conversation tonight. Allow me first to welcome our guests that they can give us their opening remarks. I'll start with you, sir. It's always humbling to have you, Mr. Kazova. You're welcome to the hotline.
Thank you, Mr. Karuhanga,
Yes, sir.
and Digital TV. You're doing a wonderful job.
That's good.
Yes, my week has not been very eventful, although I've been on the sidelines watching and listening to numerous public affairs items. But my concern has been on the politics of exclusion, which culminated into those riots that we saw in Kenya. Now, in Uganda, by the latest statistics, we are told that almost 50% of Ugandans are young people. And young people in the sense that they are below 18 years. So they cannot express themselves politically because they can't contest for political office.
Yes.
Neither can they vote. So you have a huge majority of Ugandans who are excluded from decision making. Then you have those that are 60 years and plus 5%. So the 60 plus, who are the 5%, are the ones making decisions mostly for majority of Ugandans. And why 60 plus? Because even those in their 30s and 40s who are in the political offices are not the final decision makers. The final decision makers, almost all of them today, are 60 years plus. So that becomes problematic for a country. That times have changed and you have a small group of people who make decisions that affect all Ugandans. But those decisions are mostly in their favor. So when you see what happened in Kenya, one should not be surprised because of the huge generation gap. The kid who is 17 years has aspirations that cannot be catered for by this group that is in 70s because they don't connect. I've been reading a book by Adolf Hitler, trying to understand his sense of politics. And he says that at the age of 13 years, one has potential to make a political decision. That means at 13 years, one can tell, for instance, that NRM is on the wrong track or on the right track. So at 13 years, this young person, although in age might appear young, is politically mature.
At 13.
At 13.
Yes.
Now, at 13 in Uganda, one is roughly in senior 2.
Senior 1, senior 2 there.
Senior 2, because I remember I was 11 when, by P7 I was 11. So, it is senior 2. And it is understandable that really in senior 2, somebody can make a political decision and can even tell a political choice that does not cater for his interests. Now, what is my point?
Yes.
My point is that it's time to review the participation in politics. If you are allowing somebody in 80s and 90s to come and vote, yet science says that at that age, somebody is not very normal mentally. Why shouldn't you allow...
At 80?
Yes.
Are you not committing treason?
Saying 98.
Now, why don't you also allow this kid who is 13 years to come and vote?
Okay, so we should also add them in the...
So that we reduce on the number of people that are excluded from political decision making.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, and yet they are the biggest number of individuals that we have in the country. But the question is, are these people also politically cautious enough? Because it doesn't feel like they're even politically cautious as Ugandans, especially that age that you're talking about. It's not something that they really have interest in. Most of them are not politically inclined in any way.
Have you read The Mustard Seed?
Yes, sir.
Museveni shows you that he was politically conscious when he was still a very young boy. And I'm telling you, I'm reading Adolf Hitler's book, and he says, from his experiences, that at 13 years, somebody is politically conscious and can take a political position.
Exactly, that's a different generation. That is a different breed of individual.
In fact, our
We're
current...
talking about these Gen Zs.
In fact, our current generation of Gen Zs are more informed and can make better choices than even the days of Hitler, the days of Museveni's.
Okay, sir. No problem. Mr. Ochieno Joseph, you're welcome. Your opening remarks.
My
opening remarks.
Charles has just brought in a new topic that I'm happy for us to have as a complete subject of discussion. I was not particularly sure what the point was, but I get him. I generally agree. But I think if it's about decision making, sort of is fair enough. It's about participation, it's neither here nor there. But if it's also about the question of making sure that people, particularly age and categories, get not only the opinion but get what they want in terms of what they want. Children, of course, the earliest age. I was with my grandchildren yesterday. They're fantastic guys, by the way. And people who are struggling to talk, they'll express whatever their wishes and desires in different ways, and the parents will have to respond appropriately. For that, all I will say is that if we got our politics right, these things sort of would be mini-secondary. But they're important, fair enough. Because if we got our politics right, we would have a president whom you pay to think for you. And you'd have a cabinet whom you pay to plan and manage for you. And you'll have a civil service that you pay to think, particularly civil servants, technocrats who think strategically and make sure that things are delivered for you, including strategically in some of the questions of demographics which are being raised.
So that means there are no thinkers we have today?
No, we have eaters, not thinkers. We have eaters, not thinkers. And so I am deliberately taking that route, Charles, that even if we dealt with it now, it would not deal with it. This country needs Mr. Museveni at 80 to retire like yesterday. Henry after 40 years just needs, they're just tired. To a tired lot, tired.
He says he's a master of politics at this time.
Master of politics. I was very uncomfortable when Charles was referring to his lies in this mustard seed. including his early age thing, because some of them have got no evidence. But Museveni has got to justify a narrative of the invisible Mr. Museveni. In 1966, we were very angry. We went to the king of Ankole and we told him that this Obote man has done this thing on the king of Buganda. Where's the king of Ankole? We went, what is the evidence? What was he doing in 1968, 16, 69, 60, 70? 70 he was in Obote's office begging and kneeling and trying to perfect himself. Was it strategy? Was it? No. But no, fair enough. The question of youth engagement. But let me tell you how UPC did it and how we do it. You plan and think as a government. Some of the strategic thinking, you're right. I joined UPC as in the early part of my secondary in Mira, and I've not looked back. And one of the few decisions I believe, thankfully, I've made, most of the decisions I've made in my life are fundamentally right. I was very right to join UPC. And at every stage, the thinking I had at the time, that's where Charles is right, how we were watching as young students, how we were looking at Museveni and we could see some of his lies. We looked at Semogere and see some of the dullness and absence of big thoughts for the country. We looked at Obote and then we felt, I'm talking for myself, and most immediate students, most people have their own opinion. And we made very considered thoughts, considered decisions, and it ended up being reflective of the country. So yes, what did you do? Create the suites you talked about at school. Create enabling environments in which at schools, young children, and I've just been speaking to my other child, my young daughter elsewhere, of an issue she had at school, a minor issue, not her problem, my children are very fantastic, some other child, but but you get these reports and some other child misbehaves in the presence of other children, things like that. And these are young children below 10. At a primary school, children should be in an environment in which there's love, there's protection, there's guidance, there's motivation, there's innovation, there's inquisitiveness. So spaces for playing and and art and drawing, things like that. Governments invest in that. Young people are growing. In P1, I was elected a prefect. So granted, in primary one, pupils can make a decision. A young person can make a decision. And those are the political decisions. But in P1, when those guys were electing me, did they have an idea about school fees? Did they have an idea about school meals? Did they have an idea about teachers' accommodation? Did they have an idea about actually why the rules are such that you should be at school by 8 o'clock? Did they have an idea why, during break time they push to go and play? Even some parents possibly didn't think about even me. You appreciate it now that actually you're physically engaging them in many other ways, but also sometimes intellectually and building their people's skills. Is it the case? Why were they leaving at 3 o'clock? Why was my mother instructing me that middle after school was near? You don't go anywhere else, you come home. And then you see some other kids going around spaces. What is it? Meaning parental guidance. But so limited choices, stage by stage in age. At that stage, our parents are thinking for us. Government is thinking for us. Local government is thinking for us. And at our time, we had Gombla chiefs, Saza chiefs, Muluka chiefs, local parish chiefs, and Mutaka chiefs that Museveni was pulled with these RSS things. The RSS thing was basically, it's a local government, but the LC system was a UPC program to take this thing to the grassroots. Museveni turned it into, fair enough, but I'm trying to say, from the democratization process. But the point is, systems worked, You felt a Muluka chief was a Muluka chief, because I see these things. And they had influence and impact on communities. So did it necessarily matter for me? If my job was to do the right thing to do at home, the right thing to do at school, how I behave between school and home, and then how I go to church and things like that. Anyway, you see, it's a detailed topic, and an important topic we should have. But my week was fantastic. My week was very fantastic. I am delighted to say that while we are discussing what is happening in Kenya, and while you young Ugandans have been telling you guys that no, these things work, protests work, demonstration work. There is a letter I saw down there that now UNRWA is looking at feasibility studies on Nagongera Road. A few months ago, NRA police was busy beating Toro councillors. People were protesting. I had to go down there and I held a press conference on this thing, said it's unacceptable. I had a mini clash nearly with some of my colleagues, because the majority of all the political class in Toro are predominantly NRA followers. But good enough, most of them are my friends. And we nearly clashed, but I tried to avoid the clash but focus on the issues. You know? This NRA bunch, they've responded. So something is happening.
So that means
protest work. And you know what happened, Charles? The young guys had picked up the slogan, no tarmac, Unagongera Busolwe Road, no votes come 2026. This is a road which was part of a UPC program. With the other one of Kagadi, because the ones I know, Kagadi in Bunyoro, you know, 1989 programs. Museveni comes to power, and in 1990 he goes to Toro and said the road will be done. Now 34 years, the road has not been done. Now the one for Kagadi in Bunyoro, the MP for the area, then UPC MP told me that, Joseph, ours took 30 years, but it was done, but simply because of what? Because of the oil. You know, so these things work. You asked me what happened, but it's important. So, this Kenya things, young Ugandans, wake up, demand for your rights. Okay. I am pushing you there.
Maybe lastly, because I wanted us to look at it when it comes to the corruption.
I'll come to that, but I'm just giving the head. Yes,
but what I wanted to ask you is, it's not even about this particular issue. Mine has been in the corridors where I actually move. Various people have watched this show, and all of them have one thing that I also hope, let me ask you. What keeps you glued to UPC, believing in UPC, with all the differences, with how it has been crushed by the NRM, bought off to some extent, and a few leaders brought under their cover? One can say it's an ally of NRM. What keeps you going and having this passion and this belief that you can even take power?
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic question. No, because thankfully we are not an ally of NRA. I reject.
You may not be.
No, because we are not as UPC. Jim Akena is not president of Uganda People's Congress because he was not elected according to the constitution of the Uganda People's Congress. UPC members went to court, High Court, Jim lost. Court of Appeal, Jimmy lost. Supreme Court, Jimmy lost. Jimmy is occupying Uganda House by force.
He's still in office.
He's still in office based on his special deals with Mr. Museveni. And that's a fact. But Jimmy is my brother. Many people around Jimmy are UPCs. And we hope we'll be able to resolve these things going forward. So I'm answering you directly, you know. So that is Jimmy and this Museveni and Betty and whatever dubious deal they've got with Museveni. I reject them because they're not deals of Milton Obote. They're not deals of Uganda People's Congress. They're not my deals. I reject them. You see what I'm saying? Now, those deals, Museveni does them so that UPC does not have the energy, the capacity to mobilize nationally, to organize nationally, to reclaim the space that Museveni and his NRA bandits broke UPC on in 1985 and DPs, you know, and the Okellos in 1985.
What keeps you in a party that is losing?
I'm answering you. The party that is losing what?
It's losing its grip on power. It lost it. It's
we were defeated militarily. If you have the space for it.
Exactly.
Okay, let me ask.
Yes, that's also true.
No, we were overthrown. Not defeated. Actually, we were overthrown militarily in 1985.
Defeated, really.
No. We're not defeated.
You lost.
No. Let me correct it. We lost power in 1985 through a coup. Edgar, none of us here can pretend that if you find somebody with a dubious knife coming down here, that apostasy will change. Me, I'm a politician. I have said that I believe in politics with the ballot, not the bullet. I've also told Mr. Museveni, since I was born, I have never fought, not even like with the playing thing or whatever. I use my brain, I use my head, and that's the politics of UPC. We are convictionists driven by politics of ideology. Our mandate and power lies in the hands of the people.
Okay.
So we got it from the people. Museveni and his dubious guys from Luweero plus DP had their way, came and overthrew us. Ugandans should sympathize with us. They should ask Museveni to apologize to Ugandans, especially after 40 years, the mess in which he's put our country.
Okay.
I can proudly say that what UPC did in 4.5 years, between 1981 and 85, makes me completely convinced that is the only alternative for this country. And every year we spend, including the subject we're going to talk about today, including corruption, including under the beds rooms in State House under Museveni. The more we discuss this, the more I'm convinced that the future and the alternative for this country is Uganda People's Congress.
Thank you so much. That is Honorable Joseph.
But if you don't mind, it's an introduction. It's a long introduction. If you don't mind.
It's really
But I was
okay in 30 seconds. Sir.
No, I said this week I was happy. The British Labour Party won a convincing victory. 10 years ago, they were nearly written off. I'm contextualizing for you. And I'm saying this really for the people who come here and spend their data. You know, and the Ugandan young people, we need to give them hope. That's actually possible to stick and focus, so long as they focus on the right thing. Labour won convincingly. The constituency that I used to be party to is the constituency of the mother of the house. The new MP there, congratulations once again, Miata Fanbule, is a Sierra Leonean. Sierra Leonean refugee who came to Britain only 20 years ago. She's taken over that seat with my support and been all of our support. She's, I met her just a few weeks ago. Yeah? Mother of the house, retired. The new mother of the house in Britain, meaning the longest serving female member of parliament, is Diana Abbott, a colleague of mine, a black woman, a woman via the Caribbeans. When democracy says some of these things are possibilities, and why I talked about Miata. In Uganda here, we discuss politics of identity, When people say you're a Munyankole, you're a Mujapadola, you're a Kenyan, you're a South Sudanese, in many cases the most common one, the Munyarwanda. The reason why these things are issues is when we don't have systems, and we have dubious systems, whether you're an Ochieno or you're Munyarwanda, you come and you steal and break the back of Ugandans. But if you're in Uganda, you come from Kenya, you're legally resident in Uganda, and you do your real things, there's no reason why Ochieno would not support you to become even the president of Uganda, so long as you do it rightfully.
Okay.
But if your job is to break Uganda and turn Uganda into the mess, the manner in which Museveni has done it, it does not matter who Museveni is. I reject him and his energy 100%.
Okay, thank you so much.
Finally,
I wanted
socialists, because the left-leaning alliance, have won again in France, another turnaround, putting a push on the back of the right-wing friends of Hitler as referred in France. Again, even if it changes topics a little bit, but you just give us the space, because that's why we're here. Tells you that even in these spaces where we know there's racism and been used and abused, particularly Africans, there are Bazungu who said no to fascism, said no to racism. They rethought themselves and simply said no. The France that we want is France which is diverse, not France of them versus us. And they decided to reject the extreme white extremists. Okay. And I'm delighted.
And that's good, but the context really differs. I don't want to go into that particular context. You had something to add, sir?
Yes, on my argument, or why we should include more young people in decision making for the country. Some time back, I and some people came up with proposals because we looked at how our young people are living and what likely opportunities before them. President Museveni is focusing on, for instance, parish development model and those other welfare programs, the Myoga etc. But I have argued that there could be better opportunities for the young people, for instance, if you created a city, an entertainment city, you created a sports city. And we did our calculations that almost 10 million young people could be employed in only those 2 areas. Now, when you look at our national budget, things like that are not catered for. And the reason is just one, that the thinking of those people is 60s plus is different.
They don't know the problems of this person who's 18.
But I'm not bringing this argument to
Just
you.
I have suffered today, but no, carry on. Yeah. No, it's a good point.
It is totally different.
It's different, yeah.
You imagine today outing a music song. How many people would be employed? How many would earn from that just one song?
And just to add, to just inform you, sir, in all 5 youths you meet, for example, in the ghetto, 3 of them are artists, the 2 are sports people.
But you go to our national budget, and those 2 areas are totally ignored.
And Facebook is closed. Mind you, that shows the gap. Because now, why would you, if you know the rate of unemployment, look up Facebook?
Yeah.
Get young people using it to market their products and communicate.
And yet they're not protesting.
Okay, maybe let's just delve into another discussion. The land evictions, and I wanted to start with you, Charles, if you don't mind. The land evictions continue, but what is really still standing out is the inequity or inequality. Let me say inequality. Some people are evicted, others are not. Yes, it's a wetland, but why is it that some people are more important than others?
I have not tried to interrogate that scenario critically. I thought that now that all these operations are being conducted under the guidance of the former Vice President Bukenya, of course, I think in consultation with the President, then they can decide which areas to start with. But it appears that government focus was that stretch on the northern bypass. First clear that group, and
They say
then
they're coming to Makindye after.
and then they can then they can focus on other areas. Even Munyonyo, they should come.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, they should come.
Let's wait for that. The case in point could be if you see that Lubiji Road along Nance, and if you've seen where the petrol station is.
Yes.
The headquarters of one of the petrol stations. I don't want to mention the name.
Yes,
the people have, for you can mention. For me, I'm not allowed to. There is a place on the side has been demolished, even on the other side has been demolished, but these people in the middle have been left.
And I think they should, not just thinking, they should, everybody should get out. Everybody. It does not matter who.
But this subjectiveness.
They will obviously get out. They will. Okay. I think they are probably things that they have to first sort out. You know, this guy comes in as an investor, so you probably have to get him another place before you flush him out. But they have to. They just have to. There can't be discrimination when it comes to.
Looks like that.
No. They just have to go. They have to go. I've seen even military officers get evicted. So,
yeah, but those are a few individuals.
Yes, so they just have to get out. Everybody, as long as the area has been earmarked for evictions, they just have to get out.
About those that have court orders? Because there are members that have court orders that are stopping these evictions.
Yes, because I've seen quite a number of individuals try to incite those occupying these wetlands by going to court. But I think, in my view,
yes, sir.
Government has to sit with all departments and agree on a way forward, so that the judiciary knows the direction that we are taking as a country.
I thought the judiciary has to have an independent mind. to think for what is right in that particular
Let me tell
situation?
you.
Why do you say that where we are going as a country?
Let me tell you, the judiciary, first of all, has been blamed just like Parliament. And the two have been identified as some of the most corrupt institutions.
Yeah, that is also true.
So they cannot now afford to make another mistake and, for instance, allow people in areas that are gazetted as wetlands. Because if they do it, then we shall brush them off as we've done Parliament. Because now we no longer see sense in the Parliament. So the judiciary cannot now afford to be blacklisted.
Maybe it's
the way
protecting them
Parliament.
to have them compensated in some way.
Compensated in what sense? These are criminals. Let me tell you, I have no kind words for people in wetlands. Just a few months ago, people had to hide in their houses because of the heat. In South Sudan, it was so intense. People die because of this climate change. So anybody that cannot understand that person is a criminal.
Okay.
Because you're trying to gain selfishly at the expense of the majority.
But how about if I bought and I spent 20 years? Don't you think I also need to be cool? Like, at least something should be done.
The same argument applies when you buy a stolen car. Do you go to court and argue?
That's a good one. Let me come to you, sir. Doesn't the court have a way of protecting me even if I sat there, I've been a squatter there for a couple of years? Where is the thin line between, yes, fighting climate change, but also respecting these persons and also at least trying our level best to shield them from the impact of these demolitions? How can
Do you drive?
I do, sir.
Are you amongst the people who drive on the right hand?
Sorry?
Do you drive on the right?
Yes, sir.
No, on the right side of the road.
That's where we drive.
No, so the dual carriageway, you know the dual carriageway. And then you know the other vehicles are coming this way, you're going this way. Then
that is wrong.
Yeah? It's
That's
wrong.
wrong, yeah. Bypassing.
So it doesn't apply, so obvious common sense. So when does it become right?
I have court orders in terms of this particular land. I want to bring it back to the subject.
No, because it's the subject. That's part of what Charles is telling you. A wrong is a wrong. It's a common sense wrong. We need to draw a line somewhere. It's just like saying that somebody who stole 40 years ago, that's why sometimes I get very interested. Somebody who stole the Republic 40 years ago is now been sanitized because they've been there for such a long time. Okay, we can coolly forget. And when it's convenient, we look for a mistake of 55 years. For a 50. Do you know what? Let me tell you this.
Some people may think you're just being vindictive to Mr. Museveni, not the person of Museveni, or you just hate the guy.
I hate thieves and I hate killers. And I'm not saying Museveni is either. But this is country, people die innocently. This country, our resources are being stolen. And this country, our future is being killed. Actually, the climate change thing that Charles is talking about is not about actually against the few. I was talking to a few young people just this afternoon. And one of the things they said is that actually, interestingly, some of the work that we are doing, is to cater for and including to provide for the people who are busy causing climate damages today, who will be, in a very selfish way, dead possibly in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
But whose great-grandchildren will be dealing with 2070. By 2050, this is the context I was having this conversation, and I thought we were going to discuss corruption and this. By 2050, China will be the largest economy in the world. By 2050, the way the global economy will have been rejiggled is such that anybody who's got a head, and 2050 is not, 2050 is 20 years away today.
Exactly. It's not very far.
So how can an average Ugandan sit when gold from Karamojo is being stolen by bandits under the watch and leadership at command of Mr. Museveni. How can you call that hating this man? I don't know Museveni. We don't share land boundaries. I have nothing in common with him. Politically, I know UPC helped him, but beyond that,
you were in the same party.
No. UPC helped him. By the time,
They are colleagues.
he was in UPC before I started primary school. You see what I'm saying? So by the time I became a UPC kid, man, the guy has already formed these dubious things in Tanzania. You see what I'm saying? So I have nothing in common with Mr. Museveni. We don't share boundaries. We don't share, so there is absolutely nothing. In any case, there is even nothing I envy. Let me make this point. There is nothing I envy Mr. Museveni about. So it's not even being envious. There's nothing. I just disagree with Museveni ideologically. And to tell your friends who watch this program, I am UPC by conviction. I believe that politically since independence, the political party that has had a deliberate agenda to address, including some of these things, and that's why what Charles is trying to talk about. So how? Look here. How? At what stage do these dubious investors come and break Nambole, rather Namamve? Where is government? It wouldn't happen under UPC government. It wouldn't. How? At what stage? I was telling about Mutaka chief and I'm taking Mluka chief, those days as parish chief or sub-county chief. At what stage do you find a group of dubious guys go and take off land and occupy in a choli with their dubious cattle? Where's government? That's what I'm talking about. So here, when we come here, we spend 2 hours and we go round. I hope not. Edgar, hang on a second.
I want us to go back to
Edgar, hang on a second. I come here. I don't want us to come here and play zigzag. And this is a fantastic program. So we need to come here and talk real national issues.
Yes.
So, and for those of us at least who have knowledge about these things, we need to share deliberately. So when I was actually invoking UK, I was doing it deliberately. I don't want young Ugandan 20-year-olds to get wrapped, forgetting that for me, at 13, I was smart enough to know what apartheid was, and we had a position on it. I was smart enough to know what colonialism and imperialism was, and I took that position at school. And we debated them at school. And these days, under the EUPE system that Museveni killed our program, children can't do it. That's what we're talking about. So the environment thing is a selfish thing.
Comment on the implementation, because all of us can agree that climate change is real and it's a now problem. But then there are some people who are left to stay in these areas, and others. So that subjective eviction of individuals.
And that's why I was trying to tell you sweepingly. In fact, maybe you didn't know and get what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that Charles is right. We cannot be partisan about these things. We cannot pick and choose. This is a revolutionary issue. This is a question of life and death for my children and children's children. Charles is absolutely right about the recent wave. When I was growing up, the first time I came to Kampala,
yes, sir.
I didn't know the heat wave that we had here. We now have here today. Oh. No, honestly, as recent as 30, 40 years ago, Kampala was not as hot as this. It's common sense. There are criminals in town who are killing your future, and people think we just come here to sit here to have fun in the evening. No, we have a lot to do. Do you get it? In my Tororo, I never saw the heat I got in Tororo.
What was the cost of development, sir?
What do you call it?
The cost of development that you'll find...
What do you mean by development?
Development, in terms of development of persons, development of infrastructure. There should have been a bit of cutting down of trees and things like that. It is the cost of...
A bit of cutting down of trees, but replant. A bit of cutting down trees, you don't kill forests. A bit of cutting down trees, but you electrify. A bit of cutting down trees, but you know what? And the UPC program, and your friends are going to be very sick. Because unfortunately, they'll have to live with the UPC, because UPC will have to be the future anyway. So it's unfortunate for them, because the values of UPC is the values of the British Labour Party, a party founded over 100 years ago, as well as the Democratic Party of America. And that's why I'm trying to bring politics of ideology. It's not about personalities. So ideas don't die. The hospitals that were built in a beam the other day is the only one which is there. Must have been for 40 years. No other hospital. So those are the hospitals. Like what I said, the hospital don't know schools. I mean, they don't know tribes. They don't know religion. Schools don't know tribes. Don't know religion. Look, climate change is a real thing. I told people. For me, by the way, before Kampala got its formal devolution, the Alhaji Sebagala, before him, there was a television debate in which I was a panelist. And it's in that debate that I was telling people that Kampala had what they call the Greater Kampala Plan for UPC in the 60s. So the northern bypass was supposed to be part of the Kampala orbital. So there was a plan to build a big road, like with the Entebbe highway kind of stuff. These guys came and bungled it, number one. But number two, there was a plan for Entebbe Kampala conurbation. You understand? And Kampala Jinja conurbation. Part of that plan was not to kill the swamps. You see, so you don't do that. And if you've traveled, and people who've traveled, the Musevenis, and sometimes I actually sympathize. I mean, I don't understand. The people have here, nearly all your MPs, they travel at the express, by the way, and they boast. They go around the world and see. So for me, part of my problem is information, and part of my problem is knowledge, and part of my problem is I've traveled around the world. So I see these things. So in Britain, I was in Britain just a few weeks ago, and after 18 months, you go back to the same place, in the same environment. And you see, within a squeezed part of London, how many trees have been built. Right now, on my estate, in my house, on my estate, part of regeneration for which I was a party, was a party, me, Ochen of Nagongera, and I have no say in the sinking of Kampala, because it annoys me, by the way,
Yes, sir.
Right now, in that estate, one estate of 3 big blocks, with the got it refurbished, has got car points for charging electric cars. Do you know why? One of the estates, the fastest estates in the country refurbished. Why? Because they recognize climate change.
Yeah.
So that is what you do. So really, Charles hinted briefly why he brought in the multi-agency work is primarily because if you're a government which is committed, and I'm going to suggest in this corruption thing that this corruption is not going to end until Museveni goes, But if you do a multi-agency work, you need the judiciary to say that, well, as a matter of policy, we're going to deal with this. Meaning, therefore, that if there's a complaint, I think to make it so, if there's a complaint, a legal complaint, you guys need to make sure that you expedite it. Okay. Maybe if the RDC of a particular area, you need to make sure that they coordinate some of these other things so that these things are not botched up. There you minimize corruption. But most importantly, you deal with the inefficiencies and the underlying issues. That is really why this is important. This is important. Okay. But where there is a particular individual, you, the fourth estate, should rise up.
All right, no problem.
Which block has been left somewhere in Nigeria, which should not have been. Okay. You should raise it up. And when you raise it up, I hope that you as a journalist, you're able to interview Mr. Museveni or any of his related ministers in a robust manner in which those 3 journalists interviewed Mr. Ruto last week. Impressive.
No problem. Will you give us the opportunity? That's the question. Let's go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we look at the issue of corruption and what is your role, the person that is watching me, what are you supposed to do in order for you to fight corruption in this country? And of course, as the fourth estate, as the politicians, what is their role in building a better Uganda that is corruption-free? My name is Edgar Matthew Karahanga. Let's go for a short commercial break.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally. Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes. They meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
Empichi ebyobufuzi.
It's controversial,
Purely political.
well researched,
Accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Yes, State House oba ghetto.
Ani ayugayuga ku ground.
Ani gwe baabuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besije aleesa amaanyi.
Olwo fadda bafutsoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwo jeema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF baamala tebabanja. Olwo baba ate bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simanyanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamba apanyiga mawe.
Ebe ndabena birindira no ku the Political Dice ku the alternative TikTok nange teditenja ewamune
Farida Bikobere
buli wa Sunday
sawa 2.
I welcome you back from that short commercial break. Thank you so much for watching. And I continue to commend you for watching into this particular second and final hour of the show. I still have Joseph Ochieno from the Uganda People's Congress and of course Mr. Charles Kazoba, the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. We're still looking at how the country is looking like right now. But in this particular hour, we're going to set pace on what is your role as a Ugandan in fighting corruption? Do you even believe that there is a problem of corruption in the country? I think most of us can agree on that particular issue, that corruption is still a problem. I think one of the investigators, the IGG, came out to say that Ugandans lose 10 trillion shillings annually that is wasted into corruption. That's a lot of money. So what is your role and my role and each other's role in really fighting corruption and creating a better Uganda? I'm going to start with you, Charles. Charles, there is a march to Parliament. And this particular march that has been planned is for fighting corruption. Can we say that the public has gained awareness now? They are ready to fight for their corruption, for the problem, to fight the problem of corruption?
There is still a lot of ignorance.
For people planning a march.
When it comes to corruption. When somebody steals public resources, majority don't feel ownership of those resources.
Very true.
It's like this fella is stealing from another entity, and it's not theirs.
Yes. Just to remind our viewers, there is a video of a gentleman who asked, you say people are stealing money. For me, I wake up in the morning, the money I had in my pocket, I still have it.
Yes.
For me.
So there's a lot of ignorance, and it is problematic when you are an anti-corruption activist explaining some of these things, some of these dangers. We've not gone so deep in making people aware that when public resources are stolen, it directly affects them. They cannot have quality teachers in schools. They can't have hospitals or even medicine. their doctors will run away to go and work in other countries. So when we are making arguments, cases on corruption, we should be able to put them into perspective so that the individual understands that this person that has stolen money in parliament, it means that tomorrow I might not get treatment at Molago.
There should be maybe a reason as to why they no longer feel that sense of ownership in the country. Because what you're saying is actually true. Many Ugandans, they may know that the corruption is there, but there is a certain complacency. They feel that it's not part of us, really. There is a way.
First of all, it also starts with the term. You know, the term corruption makes it a very decent thing to do, in the ears.
In fact, you are smarter when you're a corrupt person.
Exactly. I remember when one minister was arrested, then sent to Ruziga, his constituents came in the buses to plead with the president, please release our son. He shares with us, so there is no problem. You've had similar sentiments by Honorable, is it? I don't know whether he's still Honorable Chinyamatama, and the Speaker among. These guys that are locked in jail, they will come and share with you. So the term corruption itself makes it nice, something nice to do, something exotic.
Yes.
So
and when you don't, you're not corrupt. You become
you see, even today, most people, when they vote and tomorrow you are made a minister, in their minds they say it's time for eating.
Exactly.
What are you going to eat? Which means this person has to steal to come and share with them. Now, corruption, if we are a serious country, we should even stop using the term corruption.
Let's call it as it is.
Let's call them thieves. These are thieves. So that this 80-year-old in a village deep in Bundubujo can easily understand that, hey, this man who has come in the Land Cruiser is a thief. He has been branded a thief. Therefore, my children and I should not associate with him. Now, by isolating this cartel of thieves and thugs, we shall have moved a step in the right direction. But as long as we continue to say they are corrupt, most people don't understand the implication.
How feasible is this march that they are planning on the 23rd? Because that shows that at least the public is cautious. And the issue of corruption has been reiterated before on various forums. Even the president himself believes that we are corrupt. Everybody knows that there's a lot of corruption in this country. How feasible is this particular march?
The march, of course, if it is to take place, it is a demonstration by citizens that we are dissatisfied with the handling of corrupt cases in this country. Now, it is a signal to the chief executive of government to do more. Just the other day, I saw him appoint some gentleman to do intelligence.
What's the name of the gentleman again?
David Kalemera.
David Kalemera.
Do you know him?
No, you know, it took me just 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, to realize that there was something wrong. Because, you see, when you are appointed to that high position, The internet already has something on your record, something that you have done. But if I look for you and the internet has nothing, then it's a red flag. There is a problem.
I thought it's a green flag then.
That's when I land on the judgment of Justice Gidudu. There is a problem. How did this guy maneuver to convince the president to appoint him, yet the organizations that are charged with vetting public officers?
No, but the president himself has what you call receives the most intelligence in this country.
Yes.
So he knew.
No, I don't think he knew. Really? Somebody might have.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes. You see, first of all, this gentleman.
First of all, you cannot set up a new unit.
Yes.
That is going to oversee corruption in the Revenue Authority. And you pick a member who was a former member and worker at the authority. And you know he was, and you do not do thorough investigation about it.
Then, Mr.
You don't just
Karuhanga,
appoint people like that.
Mr. Karuhanga, then you don't know how this country is being run.
By Mr. Number 7.
Now, if, for instance, I have an initiative, I can put together a proposal, well-detailed proposal, as long as I know that President Museveni is looking for a chua in an area, and my initiative fits in that chua, the president will buy my initiative. So I suspect that that's how...
Is it that gullible?
Yes, that's how it...
Because that speaks of a weakness in the president.
You see, the president wants more revenue. It has been on his head for the last 3-4 years. He wants more revenue collection. Now he wants to plug the holes in revenue collection, but also increase the tax base. Now this fella comes with such a beautiful initiative.
Can't you vet the fella? It's
yes, but you see, that is what I'm saying, that the problem might not be the president. The problem is this organization in charge of vetting people. Did you give the appointing authority enough information on this?
Who vets people on those units? Are they vetted?
They are vetted. Everybody is vetted. Even if you are appointed today.
So since this, this is the open debate and a public debate.
Let him first finish them because I wanted you to come and just also give your submission on that particular issue. Please conclude on that particular issue.
Now, it first of all, it means that corruption has infiltrated the people that are supposed to give him information.
You're trying to shield the president from that particular...
Because
at the end of the day, before he even sends the name to the people who are going to vet, at least you as a person who's appointing them, you'd first ask myself, who is Ochieno Joseph?
You see,
just simple.
The president will look at the idea. How beautiful is the idea? Is it implementable? Yes. If it is, how much would it cost? Negligible. And it passes. So he hands over the project to somebody in charge. Handle this guy. Because, let me tell you, I've told you in less than 2 minutes, I knew there was a problem on this guy. Because I tried to get information about him, and it was nowhere. That's when I realized there was a problem. But also, secondly, his presence on social media was recent. So I began asking myself, how do you rise to such an office and people don't have details on your records? Now, when you read the judgment, that's when you begin understanding that the guy had issues.
What judgment?
Wait.
Justice Gidudu's judgment.
He was convicted in April 2022.
He worked at the Revenue Authority from 2007 to 2016. Then he got into trouble and he was fired from URA. After being fired from URA, he begins his own logistics company to clear goods. But because he had issues with URA, he decides to hide under other people and organizations to do that work.
Tax fraud.
Yeah.
Wow. Ochino, I don't know what to ask you in this particular issue, because he raises a very pertinent issue, and many Ugandans have been talking about that. And we're not casting stone on this individual, but he is an ex-convict in terms of tax evasion and tax fraud. And at the end of the day, he's the one overseeing the tax body from corruption. And he paints a picture that Mr. Museveni may not even know. So who's ruling this country? Yes, who's leading the country?
I hope his paintings that Museveni doesn't know. Because the point is that in the then event that Museveni knows it and keeps quiet, then it confirms the crisis in which this country is. No, I just want Ugandans to wake up. I just want Ugandans to know that they're on their own. I want Ugandans to know that they've been on their own for the last 40 years. I want Ugandans to know that they've been taken a ride by Mr. Museveni and his team. I want Ugandans to know that they died for nothing in Luwero. I want Ugandans to know that those that were killed outside Luwero in the course of that NRA terror war against an elected government was for nothing. I want Ugandans to know that those who Museveni fought with by trying to suppress and turn the north and east into a begging bowl were for nothing. And I want Ugandans to know that Museveni did that because he wanted to control Uganda, personalize Uganda, turn it into his own personal family thing, and run it the way he's doing it at the moment. And do it in such a manner that Parliament, the judiciary, any other major organs of government, including the Uganda Revenue Authority, basically pass on to holder, and it's Mr. Museveni. And Uganda is being taken for a ride. We're discussing the environment. The sooner Ugandans woke up to realize that other countries are growing, other people are going to the moon,
Uganda is growing.
But the sooner, if I don't know whether that's your economics will grow. The sooner Ugandans realize that other countries...
All of us can see that Uganda has developed.
You're talking like a senior police officer I met at the traffic stage at one stage, and I want to concede it was a deliberate thing. It was a senior police officer said, "See how Museveni destroyed this country," and he was quite surprised, whatever. And he looked at me, and then of course he recognized me, and then and that's development. So meaning traffic and bad roads in Kampala are development because we have so many cars in Uganda. That is development. Of course, that's not
But you saw the past Uganda. But for you, would actually candidate.
Yeah, because I know the past Uganda. Exactly. Relative to our population, in the past Uganda, we had enough schools and quality schools. Relative to past Uganda, we had enough health facilities. Relative to past Uganda, people were not necessarily madly poor. Relative to past Uganda, Ugandans' wealth would not be stolen like is being stolen in the treasury, in the state house, and in parliament. Never. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's the past Uganda that I saw. And that Uganda versus this one here, this Uganda is terrible, and Jesus may we be saved of this Uganda. But look, corruption will not go out of this country unless Mr. Museveni leaves. Nothing personal. How many anti-corruption bodies have we got?
Many.
To the extent that people have not gone into the streets like tomorrow, Tuesday, to demand for the rescinding of the appointment of the man you guys are talking of.
But aren't we vindictive?
No, it's not vindictive.
Because someone can say...
You're a president.
You're no, it's okay. Maybe someone has reformed to an extent that one can say you can trust him with office. Because what we are doing is, to an extent, saying people cannot change.
You're a presenter, but you're rational. Because
let me tell you.
Okay, sure.
if this fella were to reform, he would have reformed when he got sacked from
That's correct.
URA. He did not. Instead, he turns around to steal money from Ugandans.
Still is a very big one that you
No, he stole. He stole from Uganda.
In fact, sorry for the interruption. When you read Justice Gidudu's judgment, that guy is very intelligent. Because had it been some average judge, he would have let off the hook this fella. But even despite the sophistication, this judge was able to get all the evidence.
Narrow down, yes.
Narrow it down
To precision.
and I don't. Did he go to jail? I don't know, because this is as recent as 2022. April. When did he serve?
Edgar. So Edgar. So in other words, do you get my point?
I'm listening
So
to
it's
you,
that.
sir.
So therefore, you were premature. Maybe you were getting a little excited in a particular
I
way.
was giving him
No,
an
no, no.
opportunity.
Because the point is this: I was simply saying that what Charles has said alone is enough to make Ugandans go to the streets, and let it be Museveni to explain to Ugandans, sorry, I got this wrong. But the point I was actually trying to make was, under UPC government, there was no inspectorate of government, and I want to make an announcement. In the event that there is a future UPC government, Betty Kamia is my sister-in-law. She's fantastic. She's a friend. But she would lose the job. There is no need for the inspectorate of government. Museveni created that thing. It was one of these things in 1986 to boss and try and legitimize themselves. Oh, we come in new, we want governments to be checked and whatever kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a waste of public resources. Monies from the inspectorate of government. Go and add your mathematics. You seem to be very good in economics. And check how many billions go to that. And check how many billions of that would be able to build a hospital in Moroto. Check how much of that would be able to take away the children, the Ugandan children who are being treated like animals, yeah, by this ruling elite. By every street light, I found them down here in Ginger Road. Children from Karamoja, and nobody's talking about. Those are Ugandan citizens, you know. We're talking about environmental challenges. These are strategic national security challenges. And then, you know what? Their gold is being eaten by dubious people in Karamoja. Their land is being taken by dubious people in Karamoja. Their cattle are being taken by dubious people in Karamoja. Do you get me?
I'm listening to you,
Yes.
sir.
Theft, some in the guise of corruption. So we don't need this. Under the last UPC government, that's why I love it. For your friends, tell them. You have the police, and you have police special branch. You can have financial intelligence authorities. Different governments have them these days because of some of this other thing. You know, you can again have maybe cyber security kind of stuff, you know, under again in the police intelligence, something like that. What do? Part of the argument, and we had this conversation, I think, including with Charles here, how we want to streamline, to reduce the size of government burdens, because all these are related to the corruption thing.
So the people are planning a march.
So you have anti-corruption nyongo, anti-corruption court, then you have whatever, then you have the police, then in Museveni's office, then investors unit department, whatever kind of, what nonsense is this? You guys were being taken for a ride by a guy who at 80 has failed, and the guy is tired, and the guy should come, apologize to the people, come apologize to the people of Uganda, and just pack his bag, go to Roketrura. For me, I'll take him a cup of tea once in a while in the evenings.
Okay, I'm listening to you, but the Ugandans are planning what you have called a march. What they have called a march, 23rd July. 2024. Can we say they have awoken to the problem?
No, it's not awoken. They've always known it. You know, one of the first corruption these bandits did, I know you were not born, were you born in 1987? In 1987, Mr. Museveni, can you imagine, this guy has ruled this country
the currency reform.
for such a long time. This guy does currency reform. You're a very clever young man. Does currency reform, you know, cuts off 2 zeros. Takes off 30%. Until tomorrow, you're a journalist. Come back and tell us next week where that money went. Yeah, come back and tell us where that money went. No! Mr. Museveni is taking Ugandans for a ride.
That's what I'm saying. But they're trying to prepare a march like that that was in.
So anyway, back to this march. Let some Ugandans try to do these things. Ugandans know these things. Now the irony is, 90% of the people in NRA, 90% of people in NRA know what we're talking about. For me, I meet and I talk to, and all of us, we meet and talk, and many of these guys are friends, and many of them are relatives. People know what's going on, then they say, So people don't want their names to be out, because now culturally you talk about the role of the people in the fight against corruption. I am actually trying to suggest that Museveni is in charge of the corrupt regime of NRA.
That is true.
Yeah?
He has been at the helm of
and
this
Ugandans,
regime.
unfortunately, many of them have been born into it, like you born into that system, and so therefore, especially because you're a good guy, you're not corrupt in any way, so you're the exception, So many young people who get into these things and then become part of it are basically victims because it's a cultural thing. You buy into it. But unfortunately, there are Ugandans who genuinely know what I know, and they pretend to be Mr. Nice. And then there's some Ugandans, I was going to use a strong word, there's some Ugandans who think that let me steal with Mr. Museveni, pile up a few billions, and then my children will compete with Uchendo's grandchildren. No, my grandchildren find they're protected by God, and in particular because their children out of a decent culture, when time comes, in 30 years' time, the citizens of Uganda will be looking for good people, and they will see them. And like Charles is trying to talk about track record, no, they look through Uchendo. Oh, this is Uchendo's great-grandchild. Oh, yeah, you're a star. You're a Kennedy. The Kennedy staff, like the American staff. You get what I'm saying?
You've hinted on something that the society itself, these people have been born into corruption. And there is an entrenched kind of corruption mindset in the mind of even young Ugandans. Do they even have the moral authority of fighting corruption? No. Do we have it as a people?
No, because there's a trainer that wanted to lose. The class of Charles and I, is the class I was referring to. The majority of Ugandans, as I said, are victims. I don't want to let go that point. Many Ugandans are so locked up because many Ugandans don't have the space that Charles and I have. And Comrade Awich once in a while, whom we miss. But I don't know where he is. Where's Awich today? Is he somewhere eating our money? He's a good guy. So long as he's a good guy, so long as he doesn't use our money unnecessarily, fine.
Shout out to Mr. Chenro.
The average person in Lango, the average person in Ibanda, they're predominantly wrapped into these things. They go to school. By the way, I've got some texts there which are interesting. I don't want to go into it. There's an average 35-year-old guy. He's a father of one. Yeah, he's in Ibanda. There's no guarantee that when he goes to the local health facility, the child will get treatment for malaria. He needs to find money somewhere to go and pay for that malaria.
Yes, sir.
He begins now to find ways in which he's able to convince Charles, and get some money from Charles so that he sources his child from school.
Yes, sir. As you conclude
so,
that point.
The majority of the people are predominantly victims. Now, the young guys we're talking about,
who pay the corruption, who initiate it to some extent, but that is the little one.
But no, I think there's something else you make, which is an important point. Charles said it. Ugandans need to know that the money that Museveni drives his ministers, drives Anita Mongi, my beautiful sister, drives Lupo, drives he's got some very arrogant guys. I don't want to mention names, but sometimes they look, they think they're fine, but they look terrible in our money. And then some of our young guys like young Nyamutoro and things like that. All the money fueling these people is your money. All of it.
Yeah, because we pay the taxes.
We pay the taxes. But then you go to the National Assembly, where Parliament, which is supposed to play the checks and balances, then you see what's happening there. I think it's unfortunate. But earlier at your introduction, you said something which is a bit unfair to Parliament, I think. You seem to suggest that Museveni had returned the bill, which is now allegedly signed, returned the bill because Parliament had part stolen the money. No, they have been
misappropriated.
No, because that's actually not true. There have been the cases, and Charles, the next one, this. There have been cases of misappropriation of funds in Parliament and corruption, and the big thing is the shame on them, and shame on all these Parliament. And I want to meet you guys in Louisville. I want to bring you breakfast. You know, the guys have been whatever. But on the specific things, legislators found that the money that Museveni had moved, the 750 billion, includes money being given to Londro. Mr. Museveni, you'll have to explain this thing to Ugandans once.
Being given to what?
Londro, Roku Construction Company. So, you know, a construction company, a private company which is older than this young man here, has been making money in billions. You give money. When was the last time you ever got a loan, a grant from NRA? Since you were born?
I have never. I
Charles, to be fair, have you ever got a grant? No, Charles, have you ever got a grant from government? Okay, okay, no comment. Me, I've never got a grant. So what is this Roko thing? No.
It's okay.
No.
Yeah, everybody has always asked who's Roko.
No, please allow me. Please allow me to make this point.
Just to add on that, is that some private entities have been partnering with government over time, and government has actually bought shares in those companies and invested its resources. For example, you can talk about Roko, you can talk about Speak Resort Munyonyo. We even invest and give money to such entities. So one would.
How do you donate free money to Roko, free money to Munyonyo, which is my money, and you take that money from an ambulance to Abim, an ambulance to Itojo, both of which are built by you? How do you do it?
Let me come to Charles. For me, is the imprisonment of the whistleblowers. I'm going to give you a case of Anderson Bororwa, the former RCC for Rubaga. Came out during the Parliament exhibition and has been candid about talking about corruption, especially in the Parliament House. He's now arrested. I think he's going to be aligned in court tomorrow again. But he was remanded today over cases of computer misuse. So, the people who are trying to fight corruption, sir, are being imprisoned.
First of all, I would like to add on to what he says, money to Roko and others. As a country, we have no policy that makes it transparent on how one is bailed out, because it's not just Roko that would have wanted to be bailed out, but other business, indigenous business people who lost a lot of money during COVID. So how are they bailed out? There's lack of transparency. There's no policy. So it is, there's a lot of corruption in selecting who benefits from what. Now, Borora's arrest, incarceration is on Museveni as an individual, not anybody else. It is on the president.
Why do you say that?
I do not blame anybody else. I blame the president for Borora's incarceration. A lot was said about what was in the parliament. In the president's wisdom, he decided to act the way he acted.
Why do you bring it? Why do you narrow it down to the president?
Because he's the chief executive of government. He is the custodian of our money. He is our bank. And he is in that office under a social contract. You know, Ugandans, every 5 years, sit down and make a contract with a group of individuals to come and manage some of their affairs. That's how government comes into place. So Ugandans don't exist as a favor to government. the people occupying government are there by our favor. Now, there was a lot of uproar on internet regarding what has transpired in Parliament, this Parliament especially. The misappropriation of, the stealing. I don't want to use these terms that make it nice to do certain things. The stealing of the taxpayers' money. In COVID, people closed their businesses. Some of them never returned. They lost. Some even lost their jobs. In spite of all that, and then the external pressures, people have been struggling to make sure that we finance government to manage affairs of Ugandans. Struggling.
Bring it home. Bring it home.
Now, when people start stealing that money with impunity, and Ugandans come out to point it out, then the chief executive, the manager of these individuals, does not act appropriately, then it is trouble.
How appropriate did you want him to act?
Burora should have been hailed as a hero.
There are MPs who have been arrested and incarcerated.
But I'm saying, the point is making, Burora should be hailed. I'm really sorry.
Yes.
You know, and maybe actually, if Mr. Museveni has named him, that is an exemplary hailer, possibly actually to promote him since he's part of the NRS system. That's what he's trying to say. It will be exemplary, yes.
First of all, the NRM constitution allows criticism. I've read it.
Okay.
It allows criticism. Yeah? The NRM constitution. It also says it is a mass party, meaning people of different thinking come together. Isn't it? Now, Burora, what he did was criticism, and it is provided for under his party's constitution. But also in addition, the constitution that governs all Ugandans allows that kind of expression. Burora argued, even before the arrest, that he was finding hard time to execute his duties because of the stealing of money in the parliament. Every time he interfaced with people, they were asking about the money being stolen in parliament.
And just to add, he was first suspended from his position as RCC.
Yeah, yes.
And that's before he was actually incarcerated.
Yes. Now, in the wisdom of our manager, the one we gave mandate to manage our affairs, our activities, he decided that it is instead best to penalize Burora and leave the thieves alone.
The thieves were also incarcerated.
No.
I know what I'm saying. In fact, these days he's even struggling because the thieves are on rampage. They're telling whoever cares that please, for us, it is normal, it's business as usual. Our Burora is in jail. Now, that is why I'm telling you, the issue of Burora is no longer stands on the thieves. His case is on the manager. He is mismanaging our affairs because that is not our thinking. He's supposed to act on our behalf, not acting as he pleases.
The manager.
The manager.
Listen,
So, this much, and he has to be very careful.
the manager of Aurora.
The manager must be very careful.
He's listening.
Because Ugandans are so angry. They are so bitter. You know, the problem is that President Museveni only interfaces with the people who are in air conditioned. People who even throw away food. Let him try and interface with people, Ugandans who are sleeping hungry. Ugandans who are sick and cannot afford to go to hospital.
Can I just confirm that?
Eh?
The situation is so bad that even his wife, who went and spent time in Karamoja, don't know what she went to do in Karamoja, one of the most, unfortunately, deprived spaces, one of the richest, but the most deprived. She still comes back. I'm not going to mention Mabati thieves, but I'll come back to Mabati later. You know, the Mabati thieves, this is another guy's man. You know, his wife thinks that, yes, you know, most Ugandans can organize packed lunch. Most Ugandans, his children should take packed lunch. And so that is the person who would help him around not only bedtime, but even at dinner time. So forgive the man. The man is not surrounded by anybody who can help him.
Now,
As you conclude, Charles.
Ruto has managed to pour cold water on the heat. That heat wave was taking him out of office. I saw it building.
Yeah.
But he was so humble. So humble, and he knew that responding with force to subdue that hostile environment would not help him.
Okay.
Instead, he has done a lot of reforms. Now, what is coming from 70 might be different.
Yes.
You see, the world now has changed. Yet, true, you might have the best military in the world, but the people occupying that military are human beings. And they are more exposed today, they are very educated.
And some of them are relatives of victims.
In the words of Daniel Arap Moi, he said that Ugandans know how to handle their problems. So what you're saying, yes, it could happen, but Kenya and Ugandans' political dispensations and proceedings have always been really different. So let me stick to the words of Arap Moi.
Did you
Ugandans know how to solve their own problems.
Were you in Kampala during the Kayunga riots?
Yes, I was.
Who knew that something like that would happen under M7? Nobody expected it.
Okay, let me come to you, sir. He talks a lot on the issue of Burora, but for you, I want to just listen in from you, as you talk about Burora, but also comment on how social media now, because it looks like it's the only open avenue, not even open, but it's the only avenue that Ugandans are choosing to go and fight this particular corruption problem. The challenge is that some of the people that are fighting corruption, ironically, are being, targeted. I think even Professor Spire was saying that there are some threats that were made against him, against
Dr.
his
Spire.
life. Yeah, Dr. Spire. So, what do you think about that particular issue?
Yeah, I want to know the latest on my good friend Sentongo. We reject the idea that, in a sense, average, decent Ugandan, in this case Ugandan academic, should be threatened dubiously by a bunch that government doesn't know. So like Spire said on his wall, I also say it, because I've ever faced threats myself, that anything that happens to Spire, we take this regime responsible, we hold it responsible. And some of us have got very special blood, because people think that you'll be here and then tomorrow, no. You also have children and they'll be here for generations. No, ours are not going to go anywhere. Those of us have been asking that, look, let's look the past in the past, bury the hatchet, have this open, frank conversation. Charles and I, and indeed to an extent our good friend, Richard Abzese, we've agreed, let's have a robust conversation, wake up Ugandans, have a way in which you're able to to heal as a nation and build foundation
Yes, sir.
in which all our children and children's children live side by side with one another. The idea that you're an expert, and history has shown that no, whatever happens today, you don't know what happens tomorrow. I was telling of the excited victory I have in the British Labour Party. These were not stories of 7 years ago in the party. No, were they stories of 1 week ago in the French election. So things can change, public opinion. Granted, those may be democracy, but even in terms of predictions, so people can change and things can change very, very quickly. Now, you're right about the question of social media, and for that reason I ask Mr. Museveni, I beg you, sir, please, undo Facebook. If you can't, at the next time you come in public, explain to Ugandans, explain to young Ugandans, including my beautiful camera lady behind us down there, who's young, sharp, and extremely actually active, and maybe innovative, particularly because they don't even have jobs, and jobs in the office would be jobs of people who would know. Jobs in the office would not be the jobs like those days when you went to work in nobody's office with a certificate. She can't go into anybody's office without knowledge, She needs to use Facebook so that she's able to sell her clothes from Chikubu and some of those other places. Please, Mr. Museveni, release Facebook if you're not a coward, and if you genuinely care about this country. Back to Ruto. Social media. Oh, it worked. These guys had smartly organized, and they were going to turn Kenya in a revolutionary way, and they're going to turn it around. But one other thing they've done, Kenya has changed for good. It will not be the same again. Mm-hmm. Now, Ruto, it's not that Ruto had humility. Ruto was a shocking embarrassment. I don't know who advised him. That night when East Africans, because we're one country, we're one country, the day when those Kenyans died innocently, Ruto went on television and pretended he should just leave that for Mr. Museveni, because Mr. Museveni has been in the bush, he sometimes comes in combat. So, Ruto, you have no justification to put in combat. And only yesterday I was telling some young Ugandans, you realize that Mr. Museveni is retired, isn't he? But once in a while, sometimes he goes to open up a tap and he goes in the military combat. And then you wonder, why does this guy? No, he's playing your head. Mr. Museveni, we know your trick. Look, Ruto went on television and called Kenyans criminals. I was saddened.
But some were doing criminal
Well, I was hoping that I wanted to grow into one of those three journalists. But let me qualify.
Before you even continue, there are some actions that have been caught on camera of people being criminals or doing criminal activities.
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
I hope that cannot be.
That is correct. But you spoiled my argument for young Ugandans. Ruto went on television, and called the demonstrators criminals, meaning all the demonstrators.
He used some
criminals. No. He said criminals.
He said some of them were infiltrated by criminals. I want to just maybe give you more insight.
No, I followed it.
Okay.
And number two, I'm a student and also a teacher of English.
Yes.
And I'm also I'm a consultant on communication, so I know it very well. But then being also a politician and being somebody who could be president today in Uganda and also president in Kenya, by the way, I know what these things are, including therefore that I know that, and I also know that these clips.
And you're still
but I'm explaining to you, and I also know that Ruto may get this thing. So I'm very deliberate. So there's no way, from a UPC perspective, that I would say anything that I cannot qualify. Mr. Museveni knows that I can't say anything that I cannot qualify or at least I cannot defend. Ruto went on television and called Kenyans criminals, Kenyans who were demonstrating, and it was a sweeping thing. And it was extraordinary. I was very disappointed. I was shocked. Kenyans were. I think Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila, and other leaders came and told him, my good friend, you've crossed the line. Ruto, to his credit, the following day, woke up and at 3 o'clock he called a press conference. And at the time I was actually giving a television commentary to a South African network, live. His press conference stopped us. Interrupted us, and we did it up to the end. I now saw Ruto the president. Fellow Kenyans, I have listened. Fellow Kenyans, our people died. Fellow Kenyans, you have this vision. Fellow Kenyans, young people. Why I'm clarifying that, but to emphasize, is to tell Mr. Museveni and also to tell young Ugandans, because in Uganda there is a way in which they manipulate the mindset of people that you can't. And then secondly, there are people in the politics here who will say that, you go to the streets. No, it's danger. No, people have got a right to demonstrate. Now, on your point about the deaths, I also said, for me, I have held, I have organized, and have led, and have managed demonstrations, many. And by that, I've managed many against Mr. Museveni. You know, by that, I led many in London, particularly against Mr. Museveni. And he knows, including in British Parliament, I did. You see what I'm saying? Point is, you organize a demonstration. This guy is looking at my beautiful.
It's because you're talking about things in London.
No. Including
for you, the many protests that have happened here, and the many Ugandans that have lost their lives, and nothing has actually been done to the perpetrators of this.
I know where you're going, and that's exactly. And where
so it's not a threat. No. But it's more of someone telling you.
And where you're going is, and where you're going is also what I'm trying to mystify. And Charles must be very concerned. You know, that we are trying to tell young people to know their rights and come and grab it. And we're also trying to tell Mr. Museveni, you know, and his excess security beaters that they should not. And you're trying to say, oh, no, it has happened before. No. When the Americans bombed Libya, yeah, and killed Gaddafi's daughter, I was a student in Makerere University. I was one of the organizers of demonstrations here. Okay? When Samora Machel was killed, okay, by the Boers of South Africa, and Museveni delayed playing his smart thing because at the time, Museveni was a friend with some of his apartheid Boer friends, the London people, the Tiny Rolands and others, you know, the British, certain section of British politics. He was trying to navigate political diplomacy, you know? Yeah? We, the students of Makerere, said, no, come out and take a position. I was part of the leadership of that campaign. You see what I'm saying? So when I give you the others, I'm giving broad. So I know what it is. And then to suggest, therefore, that a demonstration I organize in London has no relevance to Kampala, that also can be very misleading to young Ugandans. You see what I'm saying? They're predominantly demonstrations against NRA dictatorship in Uganda. Most of them I did in the UK. But in any case, I participated in demonstrations, including against Boer apartheid in South Africa.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But anyway, so back to this. These things should happen, and they ever happened here. Ruto did that and pulled back. And as my brother says, it's quite generally impressive. Is it the right place where Kenyan demonstrations? It's not. But that is where this thing should be. Going forward, I think young Ugandans should continue to demand for their rights. Because if you see the scaling down in Kenya, Ruto says no more new cars, no more funding for cabinet office, no expenses, particularly no money to go into First Lady's office. And by the way, I think I want to consider this, that the event that I am the next president of this republic under UPC, one of the things I would actively seek to review is whether or not my wife has got a budget as a First Lady of the Republic.
Okay.
You know, I would very urgently seek to do that.
Okay.
And one other thing, unless I meet my new wife in politics, it's very unlikely I would make her a minister in any case.
Does that advice also go to Bobby Wine?
I want you to also
I can't comment. That's a development organization.
Charles, he points out a picture of Ugandans going to protest for the things they believe in. And I think you watched the last protest that was made in 2020 and the remarks that were made by Mr. Museveni. If you remember what he was wearing, the tone he even used, even after the elections, him winning the election, if you remember that victory speech, it never felt victorious in any way. And Ugandans were murdered in the last protest that we had here. So what gives Ugandans the courage to go back to these particular streets? And is this a solution, really?
When you want good things, you have to be prepared to sacrifice. Even sacrificing your life, sacrificing your loved ones. That's what President Museveni allegedly did. Mm-hmm. So, for any revolution to take place, and like I've consistently said, if Uganda is to come back to the right path, there has to be a revolution. There has to be a radical change of everything. Now, fearing arrests, killings, those are bound to happen. You just have to go in prepared.
They're still happening anyway, you know.
And you see, this is what I've been telling people. There are so many young people out there who die because they cannot get services from government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are so many women who die giving birth because resources that would have provided them with the services they require are being stolen. Now,
as you conclude, sir,
whether you want to be in self-preservation or not, you still die. What is, the fact is, because you see, kids tomorrow, our grandchildren will ask, what did you do about it? I saw a lady on TikTok, and she was saying the people in Kenya between 40 years and 60 years are the ones that caused them problems. So it's no longer just an individual.
so
Now,
okay.
it is your duty, just like it is my duty, to make things better.
Okay, no problem. Sir, your parting shots.
I'd rather die on my feet than on my knees. I reject. I'd rather die on my feet than on my knees. And every young Ugandan must be prepared. Must be prepared. If they want to live, they must be prepared to fight for their livelihoods. Fighting for your livelihood does not mean you must necessarily die. And we're saying that no, people who kill you must be held to account. For me, I've said anybody who dies in Uganda, who's killed unnecessarily, unlawfully in Uganda, you know, whoever does that must be held to account. And the truth is that in Otieno, maybe I may not be around in the next 70 years, but even in 100 years' time, my blood will demand that for the people of Uganda who died, not necessarily in my family, you know, my bloodline is very special bloodline. It's one for justice. So meaning that whatever happens, if you do anything to a Ugandan today, know very well that if you don't pay for it, your children will pay for it, your grandchildren will pay for it, or your great-grandchildren will pay for it.
Yes,
unless you're so mean that you're very much about yourself, you know. But actually, the state of Uganda anyway is that, I just want to conclude, again, back to Britain, but to make it relevant. Britain is the colonial mother country, you know. The youngest member of parliament elected, Labour Party, of course, you know, my party, he is 22-year-old Sam Carling in Cambridgeshire. And he replaces a Conservative member of Parliament and beats the Conservative governing political Conservative Party by 39 votes. My message here is that all this conversation, you know, Brora, come out of jail, join Otieno, join me, let's join Uganda Post-Congress, join political parties, my brother was talking about, let's join, be part of the political process to change politics.
Political parties have been bought.
No, political process for change for the better. UPC is not bought. Individual UPC have been bought. But if UPC has been bought, has NUP been bought? Aha. You know, but you know my point. My point is young Ugandans need to come out, you know, and in political parties which have been bought by NRA, claim those political parties by force and make sure that we return Uganda to sense of civility so that democracy is able to rule, so that an average 22-year-old Ugandan can go and become a member of parliament without looting or stealing billions of shillings
Thank
first.
you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Cheno Joseph. Thank you so much, Kazova Charles. And of course, thank you so much to our viewer. It's been good discussion for these particular 2 hours. One thing that history has taught us as we conclude is that there is a thin line between a martyr and a hero. So, and another thing that history has taught us, that the politicians, the leaders seldomly die, but the foot soldiers always die. So as you make every decision that you're making, make it from an informed point of view, be patriotic in nature, but remember that you live every day, but you die once. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. It's exactly 9 p.m. This is The Hotline Show.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.